Chiefs preseason week is in the books. Who are the risers? Who are the fallers? Who's going to make this roster based on their play from this first game against the Chicago Bears? We're going to go over it all today on Locked On Chiefs.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome back, friends and neighbors. This is Locked On Chiefs. This is part of your Locked On podcast network for the day, where we're free every day on every platform. Check out another show for your next listen. We appreciate being first on your list, and there's a lot to go over. We are going to cover what it all means as we break down not just the first half. If you missed us live, we did do a new feature, a little live stream there at halftime. That was a lot of fun. So glad that you joined us today. We're going to go over it in detail and our bigger takeaways from the first ball game. I'm Ryan Tracy, the founder of Rogue Analytics and Performance Consulting, RGRFootball.com, and NFL33.com. We have a lot to talk about.
Basically, Ryan's all over the internet. So it's just, that's, you know,
it's
if it has .com behind it, Ryan's probably over there somewhere.
Yeah, I try.
I'm Chris Clark from Chiefs Corner. You can find me over at Chiefs Corner. Going to work on trying to get a roster prediction out for tomorrow morning or for Monday morning, really. Just kind of take a first glance at what I think the roster is going to be for the top 53. So going to be doing that over at Chiefs Corner. Lots to talk about in this preseason game. Kansas City was up 14-0 when we last talked, and then they ended up losing 19-14. Don't really care.
No, I don't think, for anybody who is concerned in Chiefs game, I don't think there's anything to be worried about.
Yeah, no, I really don't. You saw two turnovers that basically gave the Bears the ball within their 30-yard line.
Yeah,
within the Chiefs' 30-yard line on both.
Yeah, it makes things difficult to win that way. And I got to say that it's really interesting that you put it that way. You know, the disparity between the first half and the second half, the first team and the seconds and thirds and beyond, is really quite drastic on this team. And that's the biggest takeaways. Mahomes and the ones looked good. Chris Jones and the ones on the other side looked good. It is, I think, bits, pieces, little things that we're going to talk about and who's going where and who's on the rise and who maybe is on the fall. But in the end, it is that this is a competitive team at the first string, probably half of the second string as well. And then it gets pretty iffy.
Yeah, I think the second string played pretty well for the most part. I think that obviously there's some stuff they want back, but I thought they played well for the most part. Going up 14-0 right before half, I think that's a good sign. And Bouchel was the one that was doing the drive in that second half. So, he put him in a 2-minute drill and he looked really good. He doesn't seem to be doing very well outside of the 2-minute drill, which is concerning for his development, but we can talk about that later. You look at the rest of the game, and there were a couple of things that stood out. I did go back and I did see, the Sky Moore catch, because I didn't get to see that the first time because I was sitting here trying to get the live stream up. I got to see Justin Reid kick the extra point, which that was awesome. He looks like he could kick on a regular basis, and I'm not saying that needs to be some Kansas City looks at, but I like what I saw from that. He looked very comfortable doing it.
Yeah, I liked his social media response was emergency kicker. I like that. Because it pays to have one. And like Andy Reid said, you can't carry two. It just doesn't make any sense. What was really interesting for me is I had some Houston fans reach out to me, say that he had done that for the Texans as well. And I had never heard it. I'd never seen it. So it actually surprised me. I thought this was all fun and games, post-practice kind of playing around. Evidently not. Like, in terms of a career path, you get done with your safety days, you can't run as fast. You can still kick the ball.
Yeah, did you see him kick the 65-yarder in camp? That was impressive. I don't care off the tee or not. That's still impressive.
Absolutely.
To have it straight enough in the distance was impressive. And I like his personality. I think he's going to be a lot of fun on this roster. I think he's going to be a lot of fun on this team. And he's going to be a leader. He's going to be a guy that gets the guys where they're supposed to be. He's going to know the defense. And listening to him talk during the broadcast, he was calling out the young DBs for the jobs that they were doing. Watson, he was talking about. Cook, he talked about. It's just exciting to see him so excited about all those young guys.
Yeah, I mean, and that's really what a leader is. And so I thought he and Chris Jones clearly took on that leadership role in my eyes from this first game. And we have to remember, too, that this is a feeling out period. This is a new thing for them as well. But to have your leaders step up, obviously Mahomes and Kelsey on the offensive side are Mahomes and Kelsey. But to have the defense have two guys that I think played well above expectation for a first preseason game. Chris Jones looks like he's in mid-season form at this point already. Like this
almost
is
better than mid-season form. I thought
right?
he looked really good. I thought he looked better than he probably did at any point last year.
Yeah, especially with the wrist and that injury. So let's hope that he stays healthy, because this looks like a team that can build upon this in terms of the defensive side. Obviously, we're going to talk about the depth down the line, but those two guys in particular were probably my two big takeaways on the defensive side. That you had leadership at the back, both vocally and with his performance. I thought he covered ground well. I thought Justin Reid came up in run support well. I think he hit that little dump off screen very well, like using his range and his ability to lay the groundwork down there. And obviously Chris Jones tempoing everybody up front.
Right.
I think that's something that builds for a defense. And I think that's really encouraging where they're at right now.
No, I think you're absolutely right. And I think that you look at what this means for the defense going forward. I think it's exciting to see what they're going to be doing going into week 2 in the preseason. And I know it's a preseason game. I know a lot of people don't get excited for it, but I do, because it gives you really an idea of where some of these guys are. And we're going to talk about the second and third stringers here in a little bit, and maybe even some of the fourth stringers. But watching this first string defense, I felt if they weren't able to get it done against Chicago, it was going to be a long season. They got it done against Chicago. Chicago is not going to be a good team this year, and they were able to get it done against Chicago. They were able to do what they needed to do against Chicago. I'm not trying to buy into that too much, but it's still encouraging, because this team at times in the past has played down to the level of competition, and they did not do that.
Yeah, and I think that's because it's a new crop, a lot of guys that need to prove themselves, whether they're new in town or they're new to the league. And it was those leaders pushing through and being where they're at. Risers and fallers, we're going to talk about who's coming up the depth chart, who's going down the depth chart right now in the next couple of segments. But need to tell you that we are brought to you today by BetterHelp, and you need to check that out. Life throws you curveballs, and there are times when you need someone to help talk you through it. I've certainly been in that position. I've been through job layoffs. That actually led to my podcasting career. That's a big part of why we're here right now. And I think it can help a lot of different people. And BetterHelp is kind of a unique situation. It isn't a crisis line. It's not self-help. It's professional therapy done securely online and available to everyone worldwide. That makes a difference in just having the availability. You can log onto your account anytime and send a message to your therapist. You can schedule a weekly video session or phone session. You don't have to be on camera if you don't want to. Like, it tailors to what you're looking for and what you need with just a couple of clicks. Whether it's therapy, it takes you a couple tries to get it right. That's perfectly fine. That's normal. BetterHelp makes it easy for you to change up a therapist if you need to and get what you're looking for. It's affordable and it's traditional. It's more affordable than traditional offline therapy, and financially available. That goes a long way as well. All you have to do is go check out the offer. We have a special one for you. It is for our listeners alone. It is 10% off of your first month at BetterHelp.com/lockedon. That's 10% off of your first online therapy at BetterHelp.com/lockedon. What I'm locked on is the fact that this was confirmation for what a lot of fans had been hoping with the running back position. Isaiah Pacheco has clearly been on the rise, but this confirmed it, because not just was he able to, I think, perform in a positive way when he did get touches, but he didn't perform in a negative way when he didn't. I don't think you can really argue that he had a lot of flaws. I think that confirms that now the coaching staff sees it the same way. He played early. He played pretty consistently, but didn't have a ton of reps, and they got him out of the ballgame. He didn't return kicks, and I found that probably the most telling piece of all, that they really wanted to give him a chance to look at what he can do in the return,
He did return kicks a little bit. I think Ryan froze, so I apologize about that.
Well,
Are you still
sorry,
there?
I was trying to say he didn't return as many kicks as I was expecting him to.
Okay. Yeah, no, he did return kicks.
Settle down.
Yeah, and I just want to say, I thought he looked really good coming out of the end zone. Like, and I don't know if it was the second half kickoff or when it was exactly, but he got a kickoff probably 7 yards deep, and he brought it out, and he got to the 27, and that's not great because, I mean, you're only getting 2 yards past where you would have if you took a knee, but watching him return it and watching him take his angles and the way he's running, I'm really encouraged about how he can be as a kick returner this year. I think that he could be somebody that could be a lot of fun to watch on kick returns and probably has the ability to take one to the house.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt that at all. Another guy that's in a similar situation that's been kind of on the rise in practice, but clearly confirmed it and actually made me even more of a believer in the details is Sky Moore. The catch that you didn't get to see until replay, just the
amazing.
awareness, right? Like not only the spatial awareness of where you are on the field, but going right to the ref or to the line judge, I'm sorry, and understand that you need to get that call right there and you need to reinforce the guy that had the best view of it right there. That's a heady play that not most rookies are going to make.
No, I don't know that most second or third year wide receivers are going to make that play. And clearly later in the game in the third quarter, you have a guy in Josh Gordon who's been in the league for years and he can't get his feet down in a similar situation. So I understand not all plays are created equal, but my point is Moore is well beyond where we thought, at least I thought he was going to be when it comes to his savviness and the things that he knows, the little details that he knows. That is impressive, and that's going to pay dividends for this team.
Another guy that I have on the rise is Noah Gray. Without Jody Fortson in the mix, I thought he had a couple of real nice blocks. He had one reception that stood out to me as an elevation of what he did last season. So I see progress there year to year. I don't know how you saw his game.
I thought he played okay. I think that he got more reps because Blake Bell went out. And I just want to say this real quick. I did get to rewatch that. That looks like it could be a scary injury. I hope I'm wrong, but it didn't look like there was contact. So gotta hope that Bell is able to be okay. But no, Gray, I thought looked really well on what he was able to do block wise. I thought he looked like he caught the ball well. I wish he would have gone and attacked the one that got thrown to him that he didn't catch. It didn't look like he attacked the ball near as much as like he could have. And if he would have done that, he probably would have had a reception. But those are small things that you're going to learn as a second-year player.
Yeah, absolutely. Who else stood to you as somebody on the rise?
Brian Cook, I thought just the range he showed and the ability to move around. I mean, I saw him mostly on special teams, but you also saw him on defense a little bit. That was encouraging to see. Seeing Willie Gay, and I know we've talked about Willie Gay and Nick Bolton, but just seeing him attack and playing downhill at times, I thought was really encouraging to see. I really liked the attack of the of the defense in general. I thought Chanel, he had a couple of bad angles, but he was always going after the ball. And I think that was very encouraging as well to see, because it's one of those things where he's going to have to adjust to this game. And as long as his as long as his motor keeps going, he will be just fine. Yeah,
agreed. Like that effort level was on full display. And I think, again, it is very much what we expected from Leo Chanel, that coming downhill, playing forward, being aggressive and playing the attack. I think he looks just as good, if not better, than he did at the college level. So like that transition for me, just getting onto the field as a rookie, like I'm comfortable with that if it's in situational football that plays to his strengths, not his weaknesses. I did see one drop that I was a little concerned about, but he doesn't play backwards as much.
Well, and he's got to learn how to do it. So, I mean, he's going to have those plays, and that's just going to have to be something you're going to have to deal with. I think you want him on this team regardless, just because of the skills that he does bring, and you'll have to deal with the deficiencies. If he has to play, then there's going to be things that he's going to struggle with, and you got to get it to where you're not putting him in that position as much as you possibly can. So that's the big thing. I also was impressed with Karlaftis. I know a lot of people were a little frustrated by some of the pass rush because it seemed like he got run around a little bit, but he did get a sack. He still showed the motor. That's all you really want from your first-round rookie. I mean, yes, you would like him to get home a little bit more because the Bears' tackles aren't great, but he's working in the right direction.
Well, and I thought I visibly noticed him, I think, improve during that ball game. And that's what's important. Yes, it was. He got to go against Braxton Jones as well, another rookie. But I saw him progress within those 4 quarters, and that's really the big takeaway for me. I thought he played well. And I thought Josh Williams played better than I expected. He gave up like the circus catch of the ball game, really. But that was an incredible play, not because he did anything wrong, other than I did feel he let up just a little bit. Like he had played the coverage correctly, and he was in good position. So I came away more enthusiastic about his season upcoming than I was before the game.
Yeah, and I mean, it was almost like the Snead play as well. I mean, Snead's deep ball was just kind of a fluky thing. He didn't break on it at just the right moment, and that's something you get your timing back, and he'll be fine, I think, going forward. Watson on the other side, I just gotta say, looks the part of a wide receiver on this team.
Yep. I thought that touchdown route was nice. Something that plays to his strengths.
Multiple catches he had looked really good. So
I'm really interested. There's a couple of fallers that I'm starting to get concerned about, and I'm interested to see if you saw the same ones. We'll get to that here coming up next.
And I want to tell you about our friends over at BetOnline. You need to go check these guys out. They are great. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your betting needs. Find all your favorite sports and events at the #1 source for odds, lines, and games. Find reviews and news of every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, and even golf. I know Ryan doesn't really bet on golf, but obviously some people out there do. So go check it out on the line. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all your sports wagering information, from live in-game betting, scores, and podcasts. They have you covered. BetOnline, where the game starts.
Okay. Who didn't live up to expectations? Who's falling or is in danger of falling down the depth chart a little bit for you?
I wasn't impressed with Kennard. I expected more from a guy that was going up against the third string. And he looked like he was overpowered at times, and that's concerning. With the guys he was going up against, and at least from what I remember seeing, it was the second and third string Chicago DNs. And if those guys are pushing you around, they're not great at that position. They don't have great depth at that position. That's concerning. He didn't seem to have the anchor on the specific play I'm thinking about, and that's something you can't do.
I'm with you. He was on my list as well. I think he played way too high. He seemed to play with a higher pad level than I remember him playing in college. And I don't know what that is, but he's got to get that under control. I was surprised to see him not get reps with the twos, considering that's where he's been getting reps all through camp. So maybe that was a late change or that kind of thing. But I agree with you. I was a little concerned there. Likewise, I was concerned deeper down in the pass rush. I think Mike Danny getting the start was fine. I thought Mike looked pretty springy, to tell you the truth. More juice than I expected. Dunlap, Clark, Karlaftis. It was Herring and Kano that I was really trying to watch, and I felt that Herring played better. He'd be a guy on the rise for me, although not dramatically, just this is all relative. Whereas Kano would be a guy on the fall for me. Did you see the same thing?
Yeah, no, I think Kano got washed out a couple of times, and I think Herring, and I completely understand what you're saying, Herring, compared to where he has been, that's on the rise. I thought he played, I'm not going to say he played great, but he played well enough to be better than you expected him to be. So I think that's something to be, excited about. Maybe he's able to bring something to this roster. Maybe he's going to be a practice squad guy this year. I don't think there's going to be room on the roster for him. It'll be curious to me to see if they keep 5 DNs. I would imagine they feel like they have to, and who that guy is going to be. But right now, it's going to be kind of up in the air. If they think Herring is better than what they have in Kano, it wouldn't shock me to see Kano go, and maybe they could bring him back on the practice squad. I mean, there's going to be a lot of people that, if he continues playing the way he is, that's not a good sign. A couple more guys for me. Josh Gordon really looked like a guy on the decline for me. Just struggled at times, didn't get his feet down at times. Playing with the third string, that's not a good sign for somebody of his caliber.
Agreed.
And I guess it's kind of obvious based on how the snaps went that he's probably not going to be on this roster. I kind of thought that going into this game, but I mean, this game didn't really help his case at all to be in the NFL either. Another guy that I thought stood out in a bad way was Devin Key.
Mm-hmm.
He seemed to be a little step late or a couple steps late on multiple plays.
I was concerned about the linebacker group. Like, I need to see more from Mike Rose and Jack Cochran. One of them's got to push for the roster, and I didn't feel like that. They got a lot of reps late. I like the combination of Mike Rose and Leo Chanel on the field together late. That looked like it was clicking a little bit better. But Elijah Lee, I think, had a couple of hiccups, but he's squarely the third linebacker. And Jermaine Carter getting reps before any of those guys, I thought that took me back a little bit. So I need to see that fall out. I won't call anybody a faller yet, but I do need to see more of that. And there was one other one I agree with you on Key. I do want to see Zane Anderson get back. He had a shoulder injury. We'll see who can return. The tackles, not just Kennard. I thought both Roderick Johnson and Jaron Christian had rough goes against subpar pass rushers, and the tackle position in general has me concerned. If they are to lose to an injury, either Wiley or Orlando, I think this is going to be problematic.
Yeah, and if it happens in week 2, I think they need to be calling Chicago to see about Tevin Jenkins.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, there was a lot of talent there. If he's not able to play, he's not able to play. But I can't imagine Chicago's going to be getting much for him at this point. He didn't look great against Kansas City, that's for sure. So
no,
but they're going to have film on him, so they can get a good idea as to how they feel about it. And they saw him in person and live, so that helps as well. But I'm just saying, I think that they may need to look at somewhere else for another tackle, because it's going to be concerning if they lose somebody, and we still have no idea what's going on with Lucas Niang.
Yeah. Last takeaway from me, and that is to the overall bubble wrap that now needs to go on Chad Henne, as far as I'm concerned, because any injury in practice that puts your backup quarterback at risk is difficult for me to stomach right now, because I thought both Michelle and Crum played up and down at best. I actually would give Crum like a slight edge, but I thought both of them were subpar and disappointing, to tell you the truth.
I get it. I think Michelle doesn't play well when it's not a 2-minute offense, where it's not sped up and there is an up tempo. I think that's really what I saw, is that he just wasn't playing well until the lights came on, so to speak, and he was trying to do the 2-minute drill, trying to get him down the field quickly. And honestly, I don't understand why the team, if that's really the way he plays, play to his strengths. Give him the opportunity to run that type of offense and see if he actually can give you something, because the reality is if he can't give you something as a normal quarterback in the NFL, he doesn't need to be on the roster. But if he can give you something, if you're going in an up-tempo offense, which you have the ability to do, you have the pieces to be able to do it, then maybe he does deserve a spot on the roster. I don't know that I see it right now, but they kept him as a third-string quarterback last year. They picked him up from the practice squad midway through the year. So it's a question whether or not that's going to happen again.
Yeah, it's a question I'm yearning to see. And folks, we're going to start to get some answers. This is my favorite day of camp coming up here on Monday. And that is because they make the adjustments based off what they see on the film in the first preseason game. Normally, I would be there with you today. I apologize that I'm not going to make it this year. Just circumstances wouldn't allow it. But don't get me wrong. This is a critical day, and we're going to see the adjustments they try to make. Let's get ready to roll, because there's going to be a bunch of them coming. I'm kind of looking forward to it, to tell you the truth.
I am too. I'm really looking forward to week 2 and the preseason game number 2. I think it's always a lot of fun to see the offense get out there and kind of do things a little bit different and see if they make any adjustments from game 1 to game 2.
Yeah, I'm with you. That'll do it for us today. Hope you guys have a great one. We will be back with you all week long, Matt, Derek, on Wednesday, to give us a little bit inside of what's going on with this team as they try to search for their final 53. It is the road to cut downs. We'll have more for you all week long. Thanks for listening to us today. Like, sub, hit the bell on YouTube, and give us those thoughts on the reviews on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Thanks for your time today. We'll talk to you tomorrow.